But before then, I have two issues that I thought that, we thought as government are important to be able to bring to the attention of the nation. Number one, you have seen today what the former president, President Lungu.
What's up? My name is Ken Dumbo, the MC with the sauce. Don't forget to subscribe to JCool.
But before then, I have two issues that I thought that, we thought as government are important to be able to bring to the attention of the nation. Number one, you have seen today what the former president, President Lungu, is saying that Zambians are going through hard economic times, and that this is due to failure by the UPND administration to manage all the economic sectors of the country prudently. We want to indicate that whereas we respect the fact that the former president enjoys his democratic and constitutional freedom of speech and expression, this particular statement is making highly misplaced and unfounded and basically uncalled for. They are unsubstantiated. We do expect that the former president by now should have owned up to indicate to the people of this country that the challenges the country is going through now are cumulative in nature. When he talks about extended hours of load shedding, how can you attribute that to be a failure of government to manage sectors prudently, when you know that power generation is as a result of having sufficient water? When we talk about this drought and electricity deficit, if there is one point we must be able to bring out, is the fact that previous administrations neglected investments in alternative power generation. From the time President HH came on board, he has directed wise investments towards the ending of load shedding, starting with the funding to Kafue Gorge Lower, which as at August 2021, only one turbine was completed and 4 were remaining to be funded, and within 1 hour, funds were mobilized to pay for them to Sino Hydro, and by November 2022, all the 5 turbines were firing, and they are firing as we speak today to generate 750 plus 12 megawatts. As at August 2021, when President HH came in, Mamba Collieries was owed $590 million United States dollars, which prevented it from investing into the construction of Phase 2, Mamba Thermal Power Plant, to produce 300 megawatts of power. ZESCO, under the new Dawn administration, is on schedule, paying Mamba Collieries. And with what happened 2 weeks ago, the mobilization of $300 million US dollars, Mamba Collieries, who will now construct Phase 2 thermal power plant to produce electricity. If these steps were taken before and monies paid, the monies that are being paid now should have directly gone into alternative source of energy production. There is also a question of importation of power. And currently, if my statistics are still the same ones that are currently subsisting in ZESCO, we are importing about 188 megawatts of power from Mozambique. But in Mozambique, there is a firm which is supposed to have been exporting power to Zambia at a lower tariff, but that the Zambian government, through ZESCO, owes that particular firm millions and millions of dollars as early as 2019, which have been outstanding to the extent that when ZESCO wanted to negotiate importation of power from that firm, which is giving a lower tariff, they said, pay this huge debt before we can talk about any negotiations. So those are the issues we expect the former president and his colleagues to own up and say, yes, there is this we left, but maybe we think the government should also do this other thing. There is no policy alternatives coming out from the former president, to whom I respect as an elderly person, former president. Now the only thing he's treating the nation to is to say, in Echintinya, Chiri Echintinya. Is that an alternative policy for us to generate more power or attend to economic woes the country is going through? We expect them to tell the nation that they left about $800 million in debt to all MCs, oil marketing companies, so that when they talk about subsidizing fuel, it is not possible under the circumstances where you are already owing. Those are the issues we expect decent political discourse to bring out by those who created those kind of situations. We expect them to acknowledge that this government has posted a milestone by attaining debt restructuring and also posting positive governance credentials, that today as we speak, the Millennium Compact Challenge support is right on course, and we expect the IMF to pronounce itself right about this particular period, given the governance record of this administration in the last 2 to 3 years now. So we are really taken aback as government to see the people who caused us to be in this situation turn around and go on a mountain top and allege administration failure by the current government. We would like them, and we challenge them, to come up with policy alternative blueprint and say, these are the challenges the country is going through, and as opposition, we propose government to do the following. There is none. They have no ideas. The only ideas they have is misinformation, disinformation, propaganda. This leads me to the second issue, which I thought we needed to clarify and clear with you, the media. That at the Citizens First UCA rally, which was held in Quito last week, we heard one of the opposition leaders, on behalf of the opposition who congregated there, tell the nation, and particularly the young people of this country, that UCA will recruit 2 million youth and they will inscript them into the defense forces of this country, and that registration for such kind of recruitment was to start this week on Monday. We want to raise 2 points here for our citizens. Number one, that they should understand, particularly the young people who were being called out, that in this country there is no private individual or entity, private entity or club or political party with the authority to recruit public service workers, such as soldiers. There is none. Therefore, to that extent, we want the young people of this country to know that it is impossible for UCA to begin to recruit by way of registering young people who they purport would be inscribed in the defense forces according to them when they come into office in 2026. There is no provision whatsoever. So, the young people, the citizens, should dismiss that call with the contempt it deserves. It is quite not just malicious, it is bordering on criminality, because to be able to inscribe young people for drilling purposes is a crime under the laws of this country. So you can't say you are going to register young people and draft them in the defense forces when you are a private organization such as a political club. That statement should not be taken serious. It has legal ramifications, but this government understands exactly the environment we are in. We are working with an opposition that is always on the lookout to do things for which, when action is taken, they want to blame the government that, look, democratic space is shrinking. Further, just by the bare statement of numbers, who honestly can think that you can recruit 2 million youth and draft them in ZNS, for instance? 2 million. I mean, just the sheer statistics tells you that this kind of statement is emanating out of the realm of political hallucination. Because even under the new Dawn administration itself, which has, recruited presently unprecedented numbers of public service workers, primarily the young people, the youth, it would be too extravagant for us to say by 2031 we will have recruited 2 million. I mean, by 2026 we'll have recruited 2 million young people. It is being over-ambitious. Maybe not being over-ambitious. It is not knowing what you are talking about. Because recruitment is not just the desire of government to bring on board more public service workers. It has to match with the resource envelope, because when you recruit citizens into the public service, they have to go on the payroll. And the payroll is informed by the state of the economy. So going by our economic trajectory, that by the end of 2025, the economy will begin to be rebounding strongly towards stability going into 2026, we expect more jobs to come on board, but surely not 2 million. But that is the kind of opposition we have in this country, a very weak opposition, an opposition which has no serious issues to bring to the table. So even when they talk about being consulted, we wonder what there is to be consulted about, because consultation is an exchange of ideas. Now, what ideas are they espousing when they get to a public platform like they did in Quito? Nothing. Name calling, insults. But you see now, we have a president who is, issue-based and spending his time to attend to the economic challenges we are faced through. We are faced with particularly the issue of drought, and the government response measures. That is his preoccupation, to ensure that he leads from the front the resource mobilization locally and internationally to respond to this drought. So you can call him all sorts of names, he will hardly respond because he is too busy attending to issues that matter to the people of Zambia. And we can only encourage the opposition that there is still room to engage issue-based political dialogue and not name-calling. As things stand now, there is nothing to consult from the opposition this far that they have exhibited what their caliber is. When they have serious issues and they are able to give a posture of genuine political engagement, we are able to tell that they are now serious and will be ready to engage, because governance is a shared endeavor. No one has a monopoly of wisdom to run a country. It has to take all citizens to be able to participate, and that is our position, presently as government and going forward. So, colleagues, thank you. Do you have questions that you think that we can deal with?
My name is Cheshon from Phoenix. I would just like to find out what government is doing to protect post jobs following indications by some employers that they will be laying off workers due to the load shedding. The case in point is the manganese mines in Serenity district, where it is expected that by 1st July, about 80% of the workers in that sector will be laid off.
Well, first of all, right now, that is an issue which is just playing out, and it is not something whose answer I already have at the moment. Because when we pronounce ourselves on what measures government is putting in place, there must be, those measures must have been approved measures of what cabinet is going to do to respond. Suffice to indicate that it is government's intention to ensure that no workers get laid off, and all relevant measures that have to be put in place to ensure that businesses continue to thrive, so that they hold on to the employment establishment levels. Those measures will be put in place, because we know that those who are employed actually, by extension, support other family members who are not employed. So I think that I should be able to get back to give quite pinpoint governmental response measures to those particular issues. If you had asked me about the issue of KCM, I would indicate that we know, as government, we are aware that there are issues presently at KCM to do with the salaries of workers that is playing out, and the government through ZCCM-IH coming through as a shareholder, we are moving in to mitigate that particular issue, so that the workers are able to get their salaries and ensure that we don't have industrial disharmony there. We want that as KCM issues are being worked out, it should continue to be a stable going concern, so that once the issues to do with its normalization of operations are done with, then we are good to go. That is where we are at the moment. Yes?
Okay, Martin. Yeah.
Good morning, Honorable Minister.
Good morning.
Okay, just want perhaps a clarification on the recent signed
Name?
What's your name?
Your name and your
okay.
organization.
Platform Tinja from Zambia Daily. You recently signed a commencement order for ATI, and I understand that according to your statement in Parliament, you talked about guidelines and regulations that are being worked out by the Minister of Justice and yourselves and other stakeholders, Human Rights Commission, and so on. Now, at this stage, what is
the message to stakeholders, or what is the role of stakeholders at the stage where the ATI commencement order now has been signed and those regulations are being worked on? What are expectations from the stakeholders? What's the message to them?
Well, thank you very much. As you would imagine, the way law operates is that it comes into force. On one hand, it comes into force, and in the second breath, on the other hand, is a question of enforceability or being justiciable. How do you pronounce it, Mr. Justiciable. So, commencement means the law is now in force. Justiciable means you can now be able to claim your right, and if your rights are denied of you, you can now seek redress before the courts of law. So the rules, regulations, and guidelines that are being worked on is to ensure a smooth enjoyment of these rights by citizens, and also guidelines to an information holder on how to go about processing and making available information that a rights holder is seeking, so that you know at every stage when you go to an institution how to go about to extract the information you are looking for, and the duty holder also knows what format or procedure to follow in giving out that information, which information, and clearly setting out the roadmap in terms of information acquisition or access that will lead you to where you want to get in terms of information, so that if you don't get it, you will know the redress mechanisms that are available. That is what we mean by those rules and regulations that are being being worked out. But in terms of the access to information, in our law or act, we signed the commencement order. It means it has come into effect as per the Gazette notice that was issued in line with government commitment that we were embarking on the journey of the access to information to ensure we give reality to what the people had been asking for decades. So that is where we are. And like we said before, we are in new territory. We are bringing on board a piece of legislation which is being put to force for the first time in this country. And as we go, there will be these teething issues towards perfection. So it is work in progress. So we could not hold back for the regulations to come to be finalized before the commencement order. Actually, by signing the commencement order, we are giving a push to these other processes that need to be done to be concluded quickly, to ensure that we have a smooth application or implementation of the ATI going forward.
No follow-up question? You are satisfied. Thank you very much. Is there another hand?
Yes.
Where? Okay, please go ahead and ask your question.
My name is Rajesh Microsimuza from Fire TV. Yes, I just wanted to find out, you did mention that there is actually a firm in Mozambique that was that you wanted to request to supply power at lower rates. I just wanted to find out what that firm is and if there is anything that government is doing to ensure that that debt is cleared.
Thank you very much. And because of active negotiations that are going through, I don't yet have clearance to begin to throw out names there, including statistics. I will seek permission that next time we meet, I should be able to have clearance to let that information out for the public. business people, they have their own etiquette that sometimes they like certain things to be transacted quietly towards a win-win situation. But you rest assured, what I've said is factual, and those colleagues on the previous administration are aware of this, and at the next meeting, I should be able to give out all the relevant statistics and the names that you're asking.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Pierre.
Good morning, Honorable.
Good morning.
Thank you for your times. Wanted to just make a call upon the issue of electricity, because it is an issue. It seems there's no really coherence with the ZESCO and what you say. Last time when you pronounced to say there will be recall of certain wattage or megawatts of electricity, the public, the general public, when put out information ourselves, they expect a certain shift or maybe reaction from ZESCO to say, okay, since these megawatts have been brought back into the country, we are going now to reduce load shedding by so many minutes or hours or this, so that it can correlate with what you have pronounced. So I don't know, is it a matter of policy, or maybe it's a matter of time that we start to see what you pronounce being reflected by this? Thank you.
That is a very important and good question. Extremely important, because these are public affairs and we must be able to be accountable to what we say. Now, I want to say that from where I stand, there is no real contradiction between what we say and what ZESCO is saying or doing, because ZESCO is now having to deal with a moving target, and they are the ones on the ground. For instance, I'll tell you that is it 2 months ago or so, when we sat here to talk about the electricity deficit and to talk about measures government was beginning to put in place to respond to this deficit, at that stage or time, the country was faced with a power deficit of 730 megawatts. And it was anticipated at that stage that with the rain that had been recorded in the northwestern province, circumstances of the water levels would change as we moved on, to stimulate a steady production and supply of power, particularly at Kariba. Now, as we speak today, the latest information is that the power deficit is standing at 1,019 megawatts from 730 megawatts. So you can see that some of the interventions that are being put in place, you may not there and then see their effect in terms of reduction of load shedding, because whereas we have recorded power, we have switched on 105 megawatts of power, dollar energy, and bringing on board other sources of power, importing more, like now doing importing 188. At the time we met, you remember I said we are importing 165 megawatts. You find that the deficit has moved on because of the levels of water that are reaching dangerous operational levels. And the experts are warning that if ZESCO continued to produce at that level to try and maintain stability. Yes, that stability will be attained in the medium term, but there will be no sustainability of that stability because the machines can only operate with a certain level of water, below which there is a threatened full shutdown. And so ZESCO are trying to avoid a complete shutdown, that it is better to produce less and you ration and share less than a complete shutdown and you remain with nothing. In the region where we are connected, as Zambia, Namibia, Botswana, Zimbabwe, this whole region is not producing any power or excess power. In fact, Botswana and Namibia are importing from us. Angola and Tanzania are the only two countries in the region that are producing a surplus of electricity. And that is why you have seen in the last few weeks, Zambia and Angola signed an MOU in terms of the construction of the Zambia-Angola power interconnector, as well as expediting now the Tanzania-Zambia interconnector. It is because these two countries have got power, but we are not connected for them to export to ourselves. And someone was asking, what is it that Tanzania is doing more, or Angola, that Zambia is not doing, that they are producing excess power? Firstly, it is that these two countries have had more than normal rainfall. So they are able to produce. And in fact, if we had the same rainfall, we would have produced more than what they are calling excess power, because our installed capacity of power generation is bigger than them. So that is the situation. And of course, for Tanzania, their citizenry have moved on into use of gas, as a means of energy, which we are trying to encourage our citizens to graduate into. So that is where we are, and we do believe that this challenge we are faced with has come at the right time. Early in the days of this administration, graduating from COVID to cholera, from cholera to electricity deficit, and issues to do with deficit of maize, mielie meal, and so on. We believe that by the time we're in 2025, and is anticipated from the Met departments that there will be a normal rain season, which will entail more production of food, more production of electricity. By 2026, we must be faced with other challenges, not these. And it will be good and exciting to talk about political debates. Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, and thank you, colleagues. We have come to the end of our engagement. Thank you.
Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, J Cool, and turn on the notification bell, cause I'm gonna see you in the next video.